Hey followers, this is your boy, Movie Maker Doug 55. Today I have a two-time TransAm champion, Tony Avé, and here he is wearing his Harley Davidson shirt.
Yeah, I was
Welcome.
out riding the bike today.
That's great. So you're into all sorts of speed, huh?
I am. Snowmobiles, motorcycles. Yep, that's it.
That's pretty cool. So tell my fan base a little bit of what you're known for in racing.
Well, known mostly for my road racing background, a couple of Trans Am championships. Um, but my younger days were World Championship snowmobile racing, which enabled me to move up into some SCCA stuff, led to Atlantic and Trans Am racing, and was on the cusp of some IndyCar stuff when I got hurt at the June Sprints at Road America. Got life flighted out of there, and sort of was a life reset. And it's been a bit of a road since then, but I still get to do what I like to do, so it's probably all good.
That's really good to hear, man. Yeah, I remember hearing about you when I started getting into motor racing years ago when that became my passion. I was watching a replay of the Watkins Glen race years ago and it was the 2004 one, and I couldn't help but look you up afterwards, and I realized that even though you've only made a couple starts in NASCAR, your career is really tremendous in sports cars.
I went down to NASCAR after pursuing a lot of IndyCar stuff, even after my wreck and coming back and racing sprint cars and midgets and doing some IndyCar stuff. And then, of course, I had some opportunities to go NASCAR racing, or at least doing a bunch of testing for a manufacturer there. And I did do a few starts. Could have done a lot more, but was sort of I wasn't that excited about going there and doing the start and park thing, and you could make an okay living at it, and you could sort of hope somebody would notice you and get a better opportunity. But I still enjoyed building my own race cars, and I had opportunities to build them for other people and start a good business doing that. And so I just made the conscious decision, if I couldn't get in a better top line sort of car, that I was just going to focus on doing my own thing and building my own cars and racing where I enjoyed it. And frankly, by the time I had gone down there, I was about 10 years past the age that they were looking at for guys to do that. So I raced when a good opportunity would come up, but if not, I was okay with not just making up the numbers, right? So
Yeah.
I started my own business and started building Trans Am cars, and it's really taken off since then.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I must ask you, where are you originally from?
So I was born in Duluth, Minnesota, but raised in a little town called Hurley, Wisconsin, which is right up sort of on Lake Superior by the Wisconsin and northern Michigan border. And I think when I graduated high school there, I believe there was about 1,850 people that lived there. So it wasn't a very big town.
Hmm. That's really interesting. I never knew you were from Minnesota because all the articles I've read say you're from Wisconsin. That's really
Well, yeah, I think I was born in Duluth, and I think we moved when I was about 3, I think, and then I basically my hometown I list is Hurley, Wisconsin.
I must ask, have you ever raced in IMSA?
Sure. I've done the 24 hours a couple of times, and I've done some limited races off and on. I think the last IMSA race that I drove in WeatherTech was for the Viper team in 2014. I did VIR, and then I did a prototype LMP3 challenge race at Road Atlanta maybe 3 years ago with a car that I actually built. We designed and built. Bill Riley designed it, and I built it. And that we ended up second. Had a good run. That was a project that we thought might be an extension of our Trans Am manufacturing business, but at the end of the day, while we built a good car and we were proud of that, I think for us, the price cap on those cars versus the cost of producing in the United States was just prohibitive. there are companies based over in Europe, Ligier and Norma, that do an excellent job building those cars and are able to do it. Whether they make money or not, it is immaterial. They still keep turning them out. So we can't produce a car at a profit at that price. So we just elected to stop doing it. But, we would probably still be venturing back into there in the near future, running somebody else's car, because I think it's a great series. But for the most part with IMSA, I didn't do as much to that as I was offered to do, because I was really always more interested in single driver stuff. I enjoy the Trans Am stuff. I wanted to race Indy cars, of course. I liked racing sprint cars. I don't mind the idea of endurance racing, sort of 3-4 big races a year, but I was never that engaged in sharing a car with somebody every race. It was never really, that wasn't my thing, and so that's probably why I didn't do more of that.
Ah, very interesting. So yeah, I must ask you a little bit about your NASCAR career. How did you get your ride in the 80 car for, I think it was a satellite team of like Joe Gibbs Racing, wasn't it?
So what I did was I was racing midgets and sprint cars, doing some Trans Am stuff, and I wanted to go NASCAR racing. Wasn't getting anywhere on the IndyCar side. It had become a lot about how much you just had to be able to raise a lot of money, and the target was beyond what I could do. So I did some ARCA racing first. I built a car with a friend of mine in his garage down here in Mooresville. I didn't even live down here yet. And we went to Talladega for an ARCA race against a lot of the NASCAR development teams. Finished second. Andy Petrie's development car with my friend Paul Menard won the race. I made a run at him at the end and just couldn't quite get by, so I finished behind him. We did lead for a while, ran up front all day. And from there, I got an opportunity to do, I did another ARCA race I did at Chicago that we also almost won. I think I finished fourth because of a late pit stop. But then the Stan Hoover had the 80 car, and I had bought a road course car from Andy Petrie at an auction, and for I think $10,000. And I went through it, and with some friends, we kind of made it legal and fit the templates, and had some friends that worked at different teams like Hendricks and such, and they kind of helped me get through tech and so on with it. And then, my friend at the time was Pro Motor Engines, was owned by Peter Guile. He hooked me up with an engine, and we went up there just to see how we could do. And we didn't test. I didn't sit in that thing before we rolled it, out for practice up there. And my only experience, of course, in the stock cars were at Talladega and Chicagoland and ARCA cars, other than some testing I'd done, obviously, but never raced. And so we went there, and we had a really good car. That was in the pre-COT days. That was in 2004. So I really liked those cars, and you can really throw them around a lot more than you can the COT cars of today. And we were sort of top 4, top 8 in the practices, but qualifying got rained out, which is an interesting part of that story. The main reason I had done a deal with Stan Hoover was he had provisional points. And if I had gone up there just with my own car, that Denny Lamers, who was helping me with paying for it at the time, as was David Jans, they wanted me to run number 66 because it was kind of the number that I ran for Denny and other cars. But I said, listen, we should run 80. I can make a deal with Stan Hoover. He gets the points for our race, but at the same time, if it rains, we get in. So that all worked out. It did rain. So we got in. And unfortunately, we took what could have been a very good day for us. I think back then it was not unheard of, and we were certainly going fast enough to end up with sort of a 8th through 12th place sort of finish, which could be done on road courses by ringers in those days. Unfortunately, the guys made a decision to have a little too much tape on the car at the start. And we had too long of a green flag run to come and take the tape off, and it blew the water out of it. So we had to go back to the garage area, lost a bunch of laps, putting water back in it. Then we went out though and finished the race and got my laps in. But again, it was a great, it was a great experience to do that on our own like that the first time. You almost can't do that now. It's gotten so much more technical in terms of what it even takes to get through tech compared to back then. You know, you just had sort of, it was involved, but you could work your way through it with the handheld templates and such. Now with the scanning and everything, you know, you just can't even think about doing that like that on that kind of a cheap deal. You know, like I say, we took a $10,000 car and a borrowed engine, and my friend Tex Powell gave me a transmission to use, and we went up there and you know, we did the race. It was a lot of fun.
Ah, okay. What was winning your first TransAm Championship like?
Well, you know, it was 2010. I had started this business here a few years previous. We were building cars, taking care of cars for people, doing some ARCA racing still, and so Trans Am got restarted in '09. We should have really won that one. We had a few too many DNFs with experimental stuff, and we were broke. We didn't have enough money for really what we were trying to do. But we went to the races. We were on pole almost every week, led most of them. As a result, we sold a lot of cars. So that got the business rolling. That enabled me to run harder in 2010, and we almost pretty much between 2010 and 2011. We pretty much ran the table. You know, we won. We were pretty much always the fastest, and we really established our car as the one everybody should have. And so that really helped with the business. So the biggest thing that stands out about 2010 was finally being able to focus on a whole series in Trans Am with enough money, not great, but enough money to make all the races and buy all the tires and not have to worry about missing races. So we won the championship. And what stands out isn't just really, it doesn't stand out so much that I finally won the driving championship. What stands out is it solidified our brand, the cars that we were building as the car to have. And we went on to build, you know, I think we built 27 of those things now. So that was what really helped with that first one, was putting our stamp on the series as the car to have, at least at that time.
Yeah, that's incredible. So your business is called Tony Avé Racing or Motorsports?
So Ave Motorsports is the name of the company that builds the cars, and we also own a parts company called RPX, which is for Race Parts Express. That particular company services all of the IMSA and World Challenge road races during the season with a parts truck. Tony Avé Racing is basically the name of the race team when we run cars at the racetrack. But Avé Motorsports is the main name of the business.
Okay. So it's kind of like several branches of the company.
Yeah. Lawyers tell you have to do that stuff.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, yeah, did you win the championship in 2011 as well? Is that right?
I did. In 2011, we really dominated. You know, I think between the end of 2010 into 2011 or 2012, somewhere along the way, we had a streak of, I think, 13 consecutive pole positions. And we, by 2011, we were really rolling. I had taken on a second car that helped with the budget, and it was, you know, it was as an enjoyable a season, I think, as I've ever had racing, in terms of, you know, the results came pretty easy, and we had good sponsorship, and we were getting new equipment, and we had finally sort of, you know, gone over the hill in terms of, you didn't lay awake every night worried about money, maybe only every other night. So from there on, you know, then I stopped racing for the championship after 2011 and looked after other customer cars, led other competitors to championships in the series, and focused more on customers after that. Although looking at going back into it to try to win the championship again, but it won't be 2021. We've signed a couple of drivers, so we're going to be looking after them. But I would like to get back behind the wheel in a serious effort again sooner rather than later, if I could.